Hey everyone, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Pokemon Gold. This is turn 74. Let's jump into things. So we've got a bit going on here. Not a crazy amount of stuff. Mostly just poking and prodding at Pewter City and getting set up for some more intense combat to come. So let's go ahead and take a look at things. We have reached Alteration 9. A very big deal. Fantastic news for us. We're going to be heading down and grabbing Evocation 6 real quick, and then we're going to be dipping into some other options. We cast another Future Fist Exploration. Nothing with Augury, nothing with Gnome Lore. Hrungnir has cast Teleport. Dark Knowledge, got nothing. Harspec's got nothing. So this is our Latios and our Kyogre have both teleported. Irma has Cloud Trapezed. With a Arcane Probing, we got a Sky Watchtower, and I don't remember what that's. I think it's just it's just one Astral Pearl, so no big deal there. I mean, nice, but no big deal there. We have cast a Queen of Elemental Air, and Thula answered the spell. Very, very interesting. Very interesting that we're actually getting our hands on a majority of these elemental royalties so late into the game. Okay, so we have a couple little battles here. So let's take a look. So this is a magic phase attack. We've seen them Titan of Mineral before, but we take another look real quick. So previously the Titan of Mineral had a little fluffer, unnecessary for this particular battle. Aw, what are you yelling about, Odie? Poor boy. You gonna come over here? No? Okay. So this is the Titan of Mineral. Not a lot changed as of the last view. I think he swapped out a little bit of gear. But really, this is going to be more than enough to deal with our forces. Yep. Easy. And comes back here, drops down, and starts a killing. Simple, simple, simple stuff. Current HP, 193, plus 130 from the domain. That's pretty intense. So, Jasmine this is interesting. The player for Pewter is smart with his use of Jasmine. Or their use, I don't know. Or whatever. Smart with their use of their god, but also liberal, right? Not going to keep their god just caged or hidden. Using it as a very effective super combatant. Going from there. Very cool. Okay, next up we have obtained some Blood Slaves in Dathan. This is actually a lower portion of Blood Slaves than we would have hoped to have obtained in this turn. But it is what it is. We lost some crippled units on a march. We countered, and this was unintended. We actually moved, shit, who was this? Tarbal or whatever? Never remember his name. Yeah, we moved Tarbal in here just to use the lab so he could teleport. But he actually moved this whole force in, and so Tarbal just came a cleaning, because they can't really do anything to him. They could maybe chip through his protection, but even in chipping through his protection, his astral shield on its own is mostly clearing them, just paralyzing all of them, and every time he hits he basically kills. So very nice. So that's done. Nice to intercept one of those raiding parties so we don't have to worry about it as much. We attacked in Nern, just raiding a little bit. We attacked in Scrawl Point. So this is actually one of his thrones. And this is an interesting little group, right? Mostly province defense, but not entirely. Some of this was actually patrolling here. and our fellas just do their thing. So again, none of these are size 6s, so none of these weapons are going to be utilized. We either need to put the Steelix champions into hunter-killer mode for his god, which is a size 6. They'd be very effective against her. Or we need to, like I said, start outfitting them, which we're already kind of working towards, start outfitting them in different manners. So their big manner is not being able to utilize the weapons they have. Another big issue is their encumbrances. And lack of regeneration. Really. But this is, we're not going to watch this whole thing. This is more than enough to deal with this, this province defense. Basically, if we're not up against very punchy things like Machamps or Rhydons, then we're pretty good to go. We hit in the Obsidian Waste. This was just taking this back, right? We got a gold event in Berman Highs. A market was held in the province. Merchants from far and wide gathered. Very nice. Little chunk of change. We've been getting a couple of these, which is very good and enjoyable. We lost 210 people in Mile Deep. We patrolled out the monster boar, so that's very good. We got caught in Stonegrave Mountains by Ekritique. Heard some battle affections, diseases, patrolled, and did some promotions. And we got, yay, another lucky event. We got another Lutadora. So this is good because we're actually starting to gear up some of these bigger mages for big fights. Lutadoras are Fire 2, Water 3, Earth 3, so these can actually move into some pretty big buffs, depending on what we're wanting to do. So that's pretty cool. Nice. All right. Let's take a look at the world stage for a little bit. Let's go over score graphs to start with first and foremost. So score graphs, we're starting to kind of like even out. He's poking at me, I'm poking at him. It's kind of like bouncing things back and forth. That's all fine and dandy. The fort situation hasn't changed and probably won't change for a while. Income is, again, that kind of like back and forth scenario. Gym income for him is significantly higher than anything else. I think at this point his income is so high that if you put everyone else's gym income together, we just barely beat his. Research-wise, we are still winning, but he is catching up. He's got a slight dip over the last couple turns. Dominion, our Dominion is starting to progressively grow. It's going to go up probably to about this point. And army size, we're both trailing upwards. Okay. So let's take a look at the fronts. What's happening in Olivine City? So Olivine City is in build-up mode, right? Losing all of the infrastructure from Olivine City themselves on the defeat causes us to have to take a lot of time to build all of this stuff back up. We're probably going to stick with these three forts that we have currently. We might end up putting a fort on Lost Canyon Range. It's a possibility. We might end up putting a fort on Iron Peaks. That's a possibility, just to kind of help secure this throne. But for now, all we're doing is we're finishing up building this wooden fort, which will be good. We are patrolling down here in Windsong Forest to try to get the unrest down, make this a better province. And we're moving Chuck back towards Olivine City. We're going to gather a bunch of stuff in Olivine City since it has such a high supply limit. We're going to get a bunch of these diseases fixed up, etc., etc. And then we are going to go from there. We might look to move the army back to the northeast. We might look to send the army on a southeasterly route. We might look to send the army towards Ekritique. Who knows? But in the meantime, we don't want to just leave everything behind here. It is possible that Pewter just strikes out, or that Vermilion comes at us, or that even Violet comes at us, or that Atlantis comes at us. Any of these possibilities are out there. So we want to kind of build up this area, make use of it. Part of what we're going to be doing there is we're going to be utilizing Olivine City as a Mareep factory, and probably maybe a Steelix champion every once in a while, but probably more likely Ampharos champions. Ampharos champions, I think, are going to be pretty useful for us because they do offer us some better pathing in air and nature that we don't currently have very good access to. Not super reliable pathing, mind you, but the potential. So we're going to look into that. And also, I just think the way their stats basically work out, they're going to be pretty good for cloud trapezing into certain situations. And we kind of need mobility right now. Mobility is going to be a very big deal. So these are going to be potentially our counters to his, countering him, but these are, he has Aerodactyl champions. We're going to have Ampharos champions. That's kind of a little situation that we're going through right there. Okay. And also, this is going to turn into a Mareep factory, so that's going to be a pretty big deal. Once we get a university up in Olivine City, it will be able to pump out Mareeps very quickly for a very long amount of time, and we're going to take full advantage of that. So, up in here with Lobomater, we're sneaking her back towards Pewterlands. We're sending Limerick back towards Olivine. We are actually finally building a temple with Vilgo here in Storn Woods. I didn't want to leave Storn Woods in the lurch for the longest time, but we had to focus on Dragonscale and Olivine City first. Our money has been in a very good spot here for the last couple turns, so we finally have been able to get to the point to where we can use more of it for other infrastructure purposes, and that is very good. We're building a temple up in Storn Woods. Within the next 3 or 4 turns, all of this area is going to be my dominion, and hopefully pretty shortly after that, we're going to have pretty strong dominion in most of this area, and that's going to be good for us. So, I think that's about it as far as important things going on in Dragonscale Mountains. We are teleporting Tarball down to Viridian City, where it seems like most of the action is getting prepped. Though, we're going to talk about some stuff that might swap here in just a few. So, over in Saffron City, we are sneaking Asipu, actually sneaking him up towards Olivine City. He's going to go up there just to do some brief building for us. He's basically going to be our... my mind's blanking. Our university builder. Okay, so he's going to go up there, take care of that for us. Ininu is actually sneaking over into the Olivine territory to start doing things like Future Fist explorations in Lost Canyon Range, potentially a Future Fist exploration in Dragonscale, etc. We've got a couple of other places where we could potentially lay down a lab and do some things there, but this one is a guarantee that we already have access to. So we're going to take it, and then we'll see what happens from there. So, Yazar is finally making it over to the Great Dunes, where he will be claiming the Throne of Fire. And in Saffron City, we are actually recruiting a Steelix champion. Continuing to recruit those. We're going to continue to recruit those as we build up items. See, we're going to do more defensive-oriented items. The Steelixes are going to be still useful as battlecasters, and occasionally be able to break out of battles and do some decent, raiding on their own. But we're probably going to get to the point to where we are not trying to put as much into the Steelix champions as much as other options. Okay. Continuing to do site searching around and about. Simios is actually sneaking into Ekritique lands, and I'll go ahead and talk about this right now. The reason why Simios is sneaking into Ekritique lands and why we have a couple of different motions towards this other side is because Pewter took Ekritique's capital. Pewter killed Ekritique's god, has taken Ekritique's capital. The Ekritique still controls most of this area, right? And still has, as we can see in the score graph, still has a shit ton of units, right? But like most AI, before a concerted, focused player who knows what they're doing, it doesn't matter. The player's going to win out in the end, right? So Pewter is taking losses and has some issues here or there, but he's now taken control of Atlantis City and has a decently sized army, and that's just two provinces from my border, right? So I'm not super worried about it. We have plenty of forces in the area. We haven't just dedicated everything off to the north or off to the east. But it does make we need to get some more scouting over in this area, and it does potentially open up an interesting series of fronts. We've been focused so much on getting over into this Cinnabar front, whereas Atlantis might actually open up as a pretty interesting front for us. So that's why we've got a couple of different movements going on around here for things. You can see we've got some scouting that's going to go in that direction. We've got a Simios who is going down in that direction, etc. So, in the meantime, over in the Viridian City front, we have a lot of movement. Again, most of this is just moving into different positions, trying to get into various locations. A lot of what's going on here is just researching and waiting for certain goals or magic items, or just what I feel like. I need to. I'm recruiting a bunch of commanders, and we're probably going to be doing this for a turn or two. We're recruiting a bunch up here in Kunal as well, and we want to get to the point to where we have a good base of commanders, because we're going to deal with a lot of things like mine berm spam, or assassinations or things like that. So we want to try to get a handle on a majority of that, have a good size of people ready to go. Another thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hit some breakpoints in research, specifically with blood, before I decide to ship out a good portion of these mages, right? Because this is a lot of research that I'm going to be sending out. But a lot of these mages can do some decent little things, right? With some summon earth power or some phoenix power, they can get into some interesting situations. And we can even do with some of these water ones, we can take a focus turn. Now that we actually have a few more, we have one more, I say a few more, we have one more Battle Girl X, that is water. We can double the amount of water bracelets that we can produce very rapidly, right? So very quickly we can turn a bunch of water 1s into a bunch of water 2s, and that's not super useful, but that is something, right? It's something to add into the mix, okay? So we're doing mostly researching over here. Army-wise, we've gotten to the point to where we have a pretty big mass here. With all of these armies, we're actually getting close to having to worry about supplies in Viridian City. Supplies are another thing that we're focusing on. And then kind of transitioning from the Viridian City front, which, by the way, we're recruiting more white belts. Transitioning from the Viridian City front down into the kind of Cinnabar City front and the Goldenrod City front, right? Because this is kind of a shared front in between them. We're just moving more of our stealthy units in. We're raiding around with our black belt goes because we want to keep pressure. We want to keep him moving around the map, etc., right? But we're gonna try to keep all of these stealthy ones. We're gonna keep them hidden for now. We'll probably hit a couple of locations here or there with Steelix champions. Again, we want to put pressure up. We want it to look like we are attacking in different locations. We want him to respond to different situations so that he has to actually spend time and resources and things like that to respond. And it's going to be minor responses, and that's fine, right? But we want to do that because we want him to think about those things. And we are going to slowly but surely move things in. And kind of the goal is to focus on a specific core and then elf that core, okay? So that's the plan. We're going to work on that. It's going to take a little while. We're moving towards some scenarios. We're going to help ourselves here in probably a few turns, but we're probably going to give away the gag when we do it. And that is, we're probably going to potentially teleport a bunch of units into Sermiak. And we'll do that when we have enough of a force of Crush Girls who are stealthy to basically take all of the forces that are stealthy in that pile of trash. It's going to be mostly like Radicates and Furrets, right? We'll suddenly take all of them and go stealth, and 20 or so in each stealthy raiders party can take out a province defense, right? Or more often than not. So in his territory, because we don't really have fronts in his territory yet, aside from the Cinnabar City and Goldenrod City front, we're moving Ishtaran and Nabu away from Scraw Point. Scraw Point is his inner throne. We're actually going to try to go put some pressure on the Throne of Fortune over here, see how that goes. And we are sneaking and attacking the throne here in Urful. So the province defense, it's free of military units, but the local defense appears to be quite well organized. This throne, the Throne of Bureaucracy, is actually a throne that he has control of currently. He has claimed it. So what we're trying to do here is just, he doesn't have access to a bunch of Holy Threes. So claiming thrones is a bit of an issue for him. That's why he hasn't been able to throne rush effectively yet. So we're just going to make it more annoying and more difficult, right? We're going to try to hit this. That'll immediately take it away from him. Even if he takes it back immediately, even if we lose Intimina right afterwards, that's okay. We're not super worried about it. We actually have Intimina set up to do a little bit of a different cast. This is probably a horrible idea, but we're going to see how it goes, right? He's going to summon Earth Power, Iron Skin, Timber Flesh, and then just do some Blade Winds. He's probably going to do one Blade Wind, and then he's going to sit there for eternity, because he will probably fatigue himself out very easily doing that. But whatever. He should still be able to survive the province defense, depending on what it is. So fingers crossed. We randomly, I don't know why, but we randomly have Dominion over here in 107 in Batagne. What? Okay, that's fine. So that's what's happening in Viridian City and in the kind of Cinnabar City, Goldenrod City front, right? His god is up here in Issyrian. We've got some stealthies. We're trying to resupply our scouts, basically. We're recruiting a bunch of scouts in several different locations. Scouts here, scouts here, scouts here. No scouts here. Scout here. So we're gonna try to get into some scenarios, and we're gonna be avoiding fortresses, right? We'll do adjacent scouting, etc., just to try to keep our battle girls alive for a little bit longer, because we kind of just need the information. So we'll see how that goes. All right, that's mostly what's going on in Viridian City. We do have some other directions that we're moving. You might notice we're moving Pyrrhoflogos back towards Impassable Mountains. This is because of the whole Ekritique City scenario. I want him in a potential position to drop some fire if need be, or join into a situation. He could very easily rush into a fight, and with Evocation 6, he can't really do much, but once we hit Evocation 6, it's not going to be very hard to get up to Evocation 7, and it's entirely possible that we could jump into a fight with Pyrrhoflogos and the right gear on him, and maybe like a fluffer or two, and turn it into a very, very dangerous trap where we firestorm and army for Pewter. It's not going to be a great potential option because a lot of what he has fire resistance, and normally a decent amount, anywhere from 5 to 10. So 6 armor-piercing fire isn't going to do a lot versus some of his armies, but it will do a whole bunch versus other portions of his armies or certain army types, like certain army compositions like Ambroses, right? They have no resistance towards something like Firestorm, so it could actually really fuck them up. So that's something to keep in mind. So we're moving Pyroflogos back into Impassable Mountains just in case. We didn't really have a big plan that we were doing with him anyways, so that's just something to keep in mind. In the Impassable Mountains and Cyanwood City area, we're mostly just making a bunch of maneuvers, trying to be in a opportune position should we see him in Pulmania next turn or somewhere else, right? We want to be able to respond quickly, because any force, because we're playing in the early age and you know, it just is what it is, any force is going to be able to crack a fortified village very, very quickly. I actually noticed this, like these forces, this force can crack a fortified village. We already noticed this earlier when we were checking out Lobomator in a previous video, but it just it goes to show that almost any force, these are just raiding parties, almost any real force is guaranteed going to be able to crack a fort very, very quickly. So we have to watch out for that. We're doing a couple little movements here or there, nothing really big. We're continuing to try to blood hunt here in Dathan. That is very big. And the only getting 8 last turn is kind of meh. It hurts, but it's doable, right? If we get 8 per turn, we can eventually get up to 77. By the time we get up to 77, we should be at Blood 7. We take a quick jaunt over with Lamash 2, and then suddenly we have a vampire. You know, this is gonna be an annoying scenario. And the game, I'm gonna throw this out there. The game might not last that long, honestly. There is talk amongst some of the players of ending, it's like setting a designated time and ending the game at that point, because this is a mod game. Because the main purpose of this game was to do a lot of testing and everything like that. And a lot of players feel that at this point, we're not really testing things so much anymore. We're basically just like duking it out. Especially, I mean, obviously, this is Pewter and I are gonna try to beat the shit out of each other, but everyone else is kind of just like hanging out, basically. I mean, Atlantis is doing a bunch to attack Pewter. And Celadon is fighting the ghosts, and I think there was some conflict between Vermilion City and Violet City for a few turns, but there's a couple of people, I think, that are thinking that it would be better for this game to end sooner rather than later. And this is a later strategy. This is a 20 turns from now, really seeing good fruition, having several vampire lords and a full blood economy going, and then getting demon lords and things like that. And that's even in the concept that we do it first, right? It is more than possible, with the vast amount of gems that Pewter has had, that he has already had this idea and already been working on Lamia Queens and pumping them out. We've seen how many nature items he has, so I'm assuming his nature income is probably pretty good. So that's something that we need to consider. If we get there, we get there. If the game ends prior, the game ends prior. It is what it is. I'm not super worried about it. So, what do we actually have going on in Cyanwood City? We've got a couple of different things. We are summoning another King of Elemental Fire, or at least we're going to try, right? It seems to me that there has been very little focus on the Elemental Royalty. I expect that the waters are probably taken by Atlantis. I know the kings were contested for a little bit. But it seems as if no one is trying to get the Queens of Air, and it seems like no one has tried to get the Kings of Fire. So we're going to try to get the second King of Fire, and see how that goes. If, again, this, much like the previous experiment, if we get it, great. If we don't, that's okay. I mean, it's honestly at this point not that big of a deal. If we lose the 50 gems, it only takes us about 3 turns to get that many gems back. Obviously, if we had the globals for us, it would be a better situation, but it's fine. No big deal. So we're going to try for the King of Elemental Fire again. We're doing a number of forgings. You might notice we're basically stockpiling this gear. We're going to be holding gear a little more frequently compared to when we're actually using it. might have noticed we've taken gear off of our Kai Ogre and our Latios. We're basically just trying to hold on to gear until we need it, and then we're gonna start sending parties out. Okay, but what we're forging is mostly focused on those types of scenarios, trying to make sure that we have people kitted out in ways that are going to be useful, etc. We're also forging a disease grinder. We've got a whole lot of diseases going on here. We're probably going to have diseases for the rest of the game. Very, very simple and easy to get some death gems out of a disease grinder. It's a pretty easy item. I think it's only like 15 death gems, and let's just check. It is 15 death gems and 5 fire gems. So this costs us very little to actually do, and it increases our death income by 1, basically guaranteed. It's very rare that we would not have a disease grinder, and actually if we even ran into a bad situation, we could take the fever fetish off of one of our nurses and go put this on some random schmuck, put them in a province by themselves, and the disease grinder would grind a disease every turn, and we'd get 1 death gem, and we'd get 2 fire gems every turn just off of the combo. So really, really simple, really easy situation. Might as well take advantage of the uniques that we can get. Anything else that we are doing? Oh, right, we're doing a trade wind casting here. This turn, we are doing a trade wind casting. We're going to see how that goes. I say see how it goes. We're putting it up for 10 turns. Next turn, we're probably going to be doing it up here with Irma. Right, we're going to have to boost her a little bit, but we've got the items to do that. And then we'll put one up here for probably 10 turns or something like that. And then by the time it comes back around, we should have more gems. Again, though, I don't know that this game is going to last that long. That much longer, so we'll see how it goes. We're also summoning a Sea King, or, well, Sea King's Court, so we're gonna get a bunch of trolls out of this. Trolls are super useful. They're sea trolls. They're super useful in the water. They're significantly less useful on land, but the Sea King is a powerful caster that generates water gems, much like Barathras or something like that. He generates a water gem every single turn. I believe I'm remembering that. Let's check real quick. It doesn't matter. I've already sent this turn in. And even if I hadn't sent the turn in, it's probably one of the better mages that I can spend water gems on at the moment. So, Sea King. Yeah, a Sea King, yes, generates 1 water gem per month. Obviously, these things cost 55. So it's not like they're going to pay for themselves. But again, we've talked about this. We don't really have a lot that we are utilizing with fire, air, and water at the moment. And anytime we need to stockpile a little of them, we only need like 1 or 2 turns to get a decent stockpile on them. So we might as well be investing those gems and trying to grow our income, basically, and that's what we're doing with this. We've also put the Crown of Despair on Lake, which kind of locks her, by the way. This was probably not the best plan we could have done. I did this in kind of a hasty decision, and then I kind of decided that I just wasn't going to change it. So we should have probably waited to summon another Lich, and then put that on the Lich. Would have given us death 5, and then with other options we could have easily boosted. I don't think it really matters, though. I don't think we're planning to use the Crown of Despair for anything in particular. We might use the death range here or there, but really I just made it because it's a death 10 item that you get 1 death gem from a turn. It's a very, very simple investment. Anything else that's really happening that's super important? We are trying to recruit another Holy 3. Oh, unlike Pewter, we have a little bit of a better chance at that. We currently have, I believe, we've got Uthelden, right? Who is a holy 3 for us. We've got Yazar, who is a holy 3 for us. We've got Zinville, who is a holy 3 for us. And then we've got Chuck, who is a holy 5 for us. Now, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to, once Chuck gets over into Olivine City, we're probably going to end up cloud trapezing him and just leaving things with Zinville and having Zinville like be the H3 for the northern forces, right? But that only leaves us 4 H3s, basically. So having 5 or 6 gives us way more flexibility. To a point, one of the other issues is that we don't really have, because the Machampions don't have feat slots, it's hard to move them around. I am potentially going to forge, aside from the disease grinder, I'm potentially gonna forge the what am I thinking of? Crap. No. I thought it was a helmet. Huh? What am I thinking? It would have to have been a helmet or a... I was actually thinking of building the flying ship, and I might still do that. We talked about that in a previous one, though, but this is something different. Gatestone. No, it's not the Gatestone. Because the Gatestone's the big one. I'm looking for the little one, the teleporter. Gatestone is a teleporter for a whole army. There is a... I could have sworn it was a helmet. Maybe it's not. No, it's Boots of Plains. So this is not... I think this is why I stopped wanting to do it, because I had this option. Right? I was like, maybe I get some teleporting in, but most of what I would want to teleport is not really a good idea. Although I did, because of there's some shenanigans that we can do with some of these things. So like doing something like a teleport, right? I just put ethereal on, it is tainted, but we could put something like teleport on to a like a Steelix champion, and we could actually do some like weird like earthquake trap stuff. And I think that would be really effective in certain situations. So we might end up making those in the long run. But I don't know. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'm basically like, I'm trying to experiment with a lot of things now. This has really gotten into the late game, and Pewter has a lot of stuff. Pewter has a lot of crazy stuff. I've been talking with other players, right? He's got a little cadre of invisible astral mages that can do things like Will of the Fates, and do things like Army of Gold, right? So there's a lot going on in this game already, and even if we get to a point to where we are covered on other bases, there's just so much stuff happening that I'm not sure we're going to be able to win out in the long run. But we're going to give it the old college try, and we're going to see how it goes. I am curious as to see what happens over the course of the next couple turns. Because I have an inkling feeling that we're gonna start getting some pretty big battles happening, and I think once those big battles start happening, we're gonna get to the point to where a conclusion comes very quickly. Like, I think if I prepare correctly and I actually anticipate some of the moves that Pewter has, It's possible that I could deliver some pretty intense blows to him pretty quickly. But if I fuck up, or if he just, like, outsmarts me, he's probably going to trap some of my... He's going to catch some of my big armies and just wreck them. Just fucking wreck them. And when that happens, the game is going to slide very, very quickly at that point. Alright, that is pretty much going to be it. Research-wise, you kind of know what the plan is. Magic item-wise, you kind of know what the plan is. We're working mostly on a lot of resistance gear, right? We're trying to get some coral blades for our schoolgirls, a bunch of other stuff. So that's kind of the plan. We'll see how things work out next time. Bye, everybody.